week after her pneumonia diagnosis, and just 4 days after that diagnosis was revealed to the world, as she collapsed while trying to escape unnoticed from a September 11th memorial service in New York. Didn't happen. Here she is. There she is, collapsing and being thrown into the getaway van by her Secret Service detail and attending staff. It's an extraordinary image. And the campaign today trying to spin up her convalescent absence, saying it provided her an opportunity to, quote, sharpen the final argument Clinton will present to voters, end quote. But it was her return to the campaign trail that needed the sharpening. The Democratic nominee, incredibly, today touting her openness and her transparency during an interview on the Tom Joyner Morning Show. Listen to what appears to be an unrepentant closeter, secreter, and privateer.
I think I've worked very, very hard to be more transparent than not just my opponent, but really in a comparison to anybody who's run.
Well, that covers quite a number of folks, doesn't it? Good Lord. I mean, that borders on the delusional, doesn't it? How delusional? Even her own daughter admitted she didn't know her mother had pneumonia until she showed up on the doorstep of Chelsea's apartment suddenly Sunday morning with staff and Secret Service in tow, such is the life of a Clinton, I suppose, mother or daughter. Never mind Hillary's utter lack of transparency about ties between her State Department and the Clinton Foundation, as well as her private email server and all the bits and bytes that she had bleached away. Mrs. Clinton, by the way, also declaring she won't discuss Colin Powell's leaked emails. She claims she's already spent a lot of time talking about her own personal emails. Thank you very much. Except she is responsible, isn't she, for erasing more than half of those emails, deleting in the most final way possible, apparently. Bleach bitten, if you will. Bleach bitten. That sounds like a German word for vanished. Clinton also returned to a spate of bad polls. The latest Monmouth poll shows Clinton trailing by 8 points in Iowa. And brand new Fox News polls tonight show Clinton and Trump in a virtual tie. Trump pulling ahead of Clinton by 1 point in the head-to-head matchup, while she's ahead by a single point in the four-way race. This looks like, if you will, the inflection point in this election cycle. Trump hitting his stride, hitting the right notes, his voice resonating obviously with the electorate, and Clinton stumbling, tripping a bit on her high-wire act with the truth, and facing the prospect of losing once again. Just when all that power, all she's ever sought, seemed within reach, now possibly slipping away. Our quotation of the evening, this one from Thomas Jefferson. He said, quote, experience has shown that even under the best forms of government, those entrusted with power have in time, and by slow operations, perverted it into tyranny. A thought for those who might still believe our executive branch hasn't yet become excessively imperial. A third term in prospect, it makes you worry, doesn't it? We're coming right back.
Meanwhile, joining us now, the man who's running for president on the Republican side. I don't know if you've heard of him, Donald Trump. Donald, welcome back to the show.
Good morning. Thank you.
Well, for the first time in a long time, you can look at the polls and actually feel really strongly that you're doing well in almost every battleground state. What is your reaction to, for example, what you're doing in Florida, up 41-39, with Johnson getting
47-44.
47-44, with Johnson getting a surprising, well, he's still getting 6%.
Well, my reaction is we've really had a good month, I think, Brian. It's been a lot of fun. It's been very exciting. We went to Pensacola. We had a tremendous crowd. They had to have 30,000 people, of which, half of them couldn't get in. It was an incredible day. And, it's Florida. There's tremendous enthusiasm in Ohio and Florida. And Pennsylvania is coming unbelievably well with the miners that she wants to put out of business. And, the whole thing is just working. We really did. We've had an incredible month. There is great enthusiasm.
What changed?
I don't know. I think I've been saying similar things. I talk immigration and illegal immigration. I talk about jobs, a lot of jobs. Maybe that's it, because I'm very focused on jobs. Talk about our very depleted military, how we're going to fix it and take care of our vets, and Second Amendment, and judges. I mean, talking about a lot of subjects. We have a lot of problems. This country has problems, believe me.
Right. In Ohio, that's what most of the voters there are thinking about is the economy. We talk about so many other things, but still the economy remains the #1 for so many voters. And in Ohio, you're up there 46%. In this new CNN poll, Clinton is at 41%. They say if you don't win Ohio, you're not going to go on to win the presidency.
Well, that's what they say. We've had an unbelievable response from Ohio. We went to the fair, and we had, at least 100,000 people there. At least 100,000. Really many more than that. And, I looked around, I say, wow, this doesn't look like a person that's going to be losing Ohio, because the relationship with the people of Ohio was unbelievable. I mean, the whole thing has been unbelievable.
Well, I tell you what, you were on our program on Monday, and Hillary Clinton had collapsed at the 9/11 commemoration, which you were also in attendance at. The day before, you announced that you were going to be releasing some of your health records. It turns out you released them yesterday. We don't know the contents of them entirely because we've got to watch Dr. Oz later on today. Check your local listings for Showtime. But here's something and you've already seen this, Donald Trump, because you said it about 18 hours ago. You're talking about how you believe you've got the stamina for the presidency of the United States. Here you are with Dr. Oz.
Let's talk about stamina. You've used that word a lot. You made an issue in this campaign. You argue that a president has to have a tremendous amount of stamina. If elected at age 70, you will be the oldest person to ever enter the Oval Office. Why do you think you have the stamina for the job?
Yeah, just about the same age as Ronald Reagan, and Hillary's a year behind me. I would say just based on my life. I mean, I actually, and I don't know if this makes sense, I feel as good today as I did when I was 30.
Well, that's great. I know we're going to have to watch Dr. Oz later today to get the results, but what are the highlights of the 2 documents that you presented to Dr. Oz about your health?
Well, the one document talks about Lenox Hill Hospital, which is a great hospital in New York, and the other one is, where the doctor is associated in some form. And the other one is the physical. And I did all the tests. I did every test. I did it last week. And the samples all came back. And I guess I wouldn't be talking to you right now if they were bad. If they were bad, I would say, let's sort of skip this, right?
How's your cholesterol?
Let's skip,
maybe no more fast food, huh?
Yeah, the cholesterol, I think, is quite good. Everything is really good. And honestly, I told people on your show I'm going to go get a physical because you guys mentioned that. And I said, all right, I'll go get a physical. I was quick to do it, and I have every single test you can have, and they were good.
I understand, according to an audience member, you said you wanted to lose 15 pounds.
That's right. Well, the doctor actually said, so you're 6'3" and you weigh 236.
How are you going to do that?
So that's your weight, 236, right?
I do try.
It's tough on the trail. I mean, really all you have is fast food.
It is tough. It's a tough thing. Although you get a lot of exercise on the trail also. People don't realize
it's just hard to get that big van through the drive-thru.
That's right. So, Mr. Trump, your weight is 236, not 267 that's being quoted in the paper today?
No, it's 236.
Right. All right.
Did they quote that in the paper? Yeah, it's bad enough.
Hey,
yeah, somebody said you were really big.
In Newsweek they did a story on you guys, and they're trying to unwind the success of your company and how you've been involved in all these nations, from India to Russia to the Ukraine to Vietnam and Thailand and Argentina. Do you think, even though they don't allege any corruption, do you think you can understand the American people wanting to know more about what you're doing there?
Well, I didn't read the article. I heard the article made me out to be extremely successful, but very complicated company. Actually, I have a very simple company. I have, deals all over the world, and they're great deals, and it's a very simple company from that standpoint structurally. And I owned my own company, but it made me to be, I did hear, in fact, if you read the first paragraph, it says a lot. It got me out to be very successful, which I am.
Right, but they also say, they start by saying this: if you win, will you and your family permanently sever any connections to the Trump organizations while you're in office?
Well, I will sever connections, and I'll have my children and my executives run the company, and I won't discuss it with them. It's just so unimportant compared to what we're doing about making America great again. I just wouldn't care. Now, I guess you could say there's a conflict because as the country gets stronger, that's good for all companies, right? but I wouldn't care. It's so unimportant compared to what I'm doing right now. I mean, I've spent my money to run, tens of millions of dollars I've spent to do the, unlike other people where they raise all the money. I raise money for the party, and we have great small donors coming in and just, really spending a lot of money on that. And I think we took in $28 million one month, $28 million at $61 a head. That's money I love so much because these are people investing, but they're investing in the campaign. But, I would absolutely sever. I would have nothing to do with my company.
Well, would you, knowing that you made these companies, if sanctions went on a country that would hurt your company or your hotels, would you hesitate?
Oh, I would absolutely get out in some form. I mean, if its ownership would have to sell, but I would get out of those countries. I wouldn't want to be involved and then nobody else is able to. But I don't think we have too many of those companies, frankly. But yeah, I would. It's a very interesting question. I would get out. I would get out of those countries.
All right. Well, I want to get your thoughts on this morning coming out. A big story. Ford has announced they're moving all of its small car production from America to Mexico, where they say they're going to build $1.6 billion plant and create 2,800 jobs there. This is something that you called for, correct?
Well, I've been calling for this 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. I've been talking about it. That's why I'm doing well in Michigan. That's why I'm doing well in Ohio. I've been talking about, Hillary started talking about it 2 days ago, and she knows nothing about it. This is why I think I'm leading so big in so many of the states. I mean, states that make cars, they like Donald Trump. I've been saying for 5 years this is going to happen. I can't believe the brazenness. Now, I think they maybe announced it today because they think I'm going to win and I'm going to stop them. I have a way of stopping them very, very easily, and the politicians have that way, too. But number one, I don't even know if they know about it. And number two, basically when they make their car and they think they're going to get away with this and they fire all their employees in the United States, they move to Mexico. When that car comes back across the border into our country that now comes in free, we're going to charge them a 35% tax. And you know what's going to happen? They're never going to leave. They'll never leave in a million years.
Because it won't make financial sense.
And if they want to leave, we're going to make a lot of money because they're going to have to pay the tax.
Sure.
And it will stop 98% of the businesses because businesses are flowing out of our country. You will not believe what's happening.
Well, you could be right. Maybe that's why Ford has made that announcement right now. Mr. Trump, can you hang around for a couple more minutes? We got so many people who have sent us email questions and tweeted us questions, and we got some more as well.
Absolutely. For you, absolutely.
Thank you very much. More with Donald Trump on the other side of a quick time out.
See you soon.
Also, because we want to ask him about this.
Mr. Trump, I invited you here to thank us for what
okay.
Not to give a political speech.
Okay, that's good. And I'm going to go back on that. Okay.
I just talked to her. She's feeling great, and I think she'll be back out there tomorrow. So it's a crazy time we live in, when people think there's something unusual about getting the flu. Last time I checked, millions of people were getting it every year.
Well, that's former President Bill Clinton downplaying Hillary's condition to the flu when the doctor said it was pneumonia. Is that a big deal? Mike Huckabee, former governor of Arkansas, Fox News contributor, Trump supporter as well. I don't know. Do you see that as a big deal there or not?
Well, one of the things I was waiting to hear was Dr. Bill Clinton, ER stat. I mean, he goes from being a campaigner to a medical diagnostician. The fact that he called it the flu when the reality is her own doctor said it was pneumonia. Does it matter? Here's what matters, Bill. What matters is the cover-up. There's an old saying in politics, it's not the crime that'll do you in, it's the cover-up. That's what did in Nixon, and I think it's what's going to do in Hillary Clinton. If she'd have come out and said, look, I have 3 chronic diseases, here's what they are, here's how they affect me, but I can still be president, people would have shrugged their shoulders and say, you know what, a lot of people deal with issues. But that's not what has happened. She's perfectly fit, but she falls down. She has these issues. Nobody really knows what it is. The latest is that it's pneumonia. Now Bill's saying it's the flu. What the heck is it? It's the cover-up, and that's a problem for someone where 70% of Americans don't trust her anyway. This just adds to that.
Well, there's a piece in Politico this morning. Here's the headline. It says Bill Clinton is no longer the closer. Now, he stood in for her in California, those fundraisers, but is he lacking the effectiveness he once had?
Well, I think he is lacking it. Look, let's keep in mind, the last time he was on the ballot was 20 years ago. And if somebody voted, let's say in 1996 and they were 18, they were casting their first vote, they're 38 years old. They probably got 3 kids and they're well into their careers. That's a long time. In political terms, that's a lifetime. And there are a lot of voters. Think of all those people under the age of 38. They've never seen Bill Clinton on the ballot. And you see the numbers of the crowds. They don't show up for Bill Clinton. And in all honesty, and he's still effective in some ways, but he doesn't have that magic that he once had at the podium. He just doesn't seem to have the energy that he once had.
In that article, DNC member, no name given, is quoted by saying the following: when you see Bill Clinton, the first thing you think of is not Hillary, it's not tomorrow, it's the former president, and it's yesterday. But 2008 wasn't that long ago, Gov.
Well, 2008 wasn't that long ago. It was 8 years ago. But again, in political terms, a lot of things have happened. And I'll tell you something. Bill Clinton has aged in these 8 years, aged a lot. I mean, if he's the poster child for veganism, I think most people are going to be carnivores because he just doesn't look that strong and that well. And he's always been a very, healthy and virile man, but he doesn't look that way, and he doesn't deliver those lines with the kind of punch that he once did. So I think whoever at the DNC is saying that, they're probably right.
Yeah, I think, though, if they were all on stage, it's like Murderers Row. The president, the first lady, Joe Biden, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton. But you don't get the sense that they have a real personal likeness toward one another. That's just the sense I get. Now, tell me this. Why do you?
There's a reason they don't.
Why do you believe the polls are shifting? And in a general sense, do you think this campaign or election is shifting?
I think this is definitely a shift. I've said all along I still thought Donald Trump was going to win, even when he was at his low point during the summer and all the aftermath of the Democratic National Convention. I said, this thing doesn't start till Labor Day. A couple of things have happened. One, Donald Trump has gotten on message, stayed on message. He continues to pack them in by the thousands. And I'm not talking about people silently sitting rubbing their chins. These are people enthusiastically ready to go into hell with a water pistol for Donald Trump. On the other side, you see Hillary's numbers. They're continuing to just tumble for a couple of reasons. One, we're more unsure about her than we've ever been, not only about her policies and her connections with foreign governments and selling off everything that wasn't tied down through the Clinton Foundation, but also now about her health and, most of all, her trustworthiness. This is on a trajectory that Donald Trump, if he stays on it, will focus, stay on message, not get distracted, focus on what got him here. He wins the presidency.
Mike Huckabee, we'll see if you're right. 55 days, I do believe, today. Thank you, Governor, for your time today.
You bet, Bill.
Welcome back. Joining us now in our center seat, Green Party presidential nominee Dr. Jill Stein. Thanks so much for being here.
Great to be with you, Brad.
In recent polls, you've been hovering around 3-4%, depending on the poll. And some states, it's a little bit more than that. We asked people on Twitter to write in some questions for you here. John types in, how do you respond to critics who say that voting for you or Governor Gary Johnson, the Libertarian vote, is a wasted vote?
I'd say we live in a democracy, and big politicians don't own our votes. They have to earn them, and they have not earned them in an election where the two major party candidates have the highest ratings of dislike and distrust ever in our history. 75% of people, actually more than that, are now clamoring to open up the debates so they can find out about their other choices. And one last point to mention from the Quinnipiac poll that just came out yesterday, the vast majority of Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton supporters don't actually support them. Their main motive is that they don't like the other candidate. So let's give them some other choices.
The other good doctor on the panel here?
Yes, and we are alumni of the same school.
We are indeed.
As we've discovered. I reviewed your policy positions, and I think you're obviously closer to the Democratic Party, especially the core base, than to the Republicans. Do you worry about the Ralph Nader problem, 2000, that it could be a close election, could hinge on one state, and you could have enough support drawn away from Hillary Clinton to elect a Republican?
I will feel terrible if Donald Trump gets elected, and I will feel terrible if Hillary Clinton gets elected.
Equally so?
Yes, because, you know, Hillary Clinton wants to start an air war over Syria with a nuclear-armed power with 2,000 nuclear weapons on hair-trigger alert. Given Hillary's track record, not only in Iraq but in Libya, you know, I think this is about as dangerous as it gets. Donald Trump wants to bar Muslims from entering into this country, but Hillary Clinton has been very busy bombing Muslims in other countries. You know, I think we live in a democracy. At the end of the day, we have 4 choices, and the American people have yet to hear about their other 2 choices. They deserve not only to have a right to vote, but they have a right to know who they can vote for.
Shannon.
Dr. Stein, I cover legal issues and primarily the Supreme Court. There's an opening, as you know, on the court now. It would be one of the first orders of business for you as a president. What kind of judge, or would there even be a name that you would float for somebody who would be your ideal nominee?
At this point, I don't have a name, but, you know, I think we need people on the court who are not influenced by big business, by corporations. I think we need a person who is of, by, and for the people.
Would you have any kind of litmus test on any specific issues or things that you think are legal debates that are of key importance to you?
You know, I think it is important that we protect women's right to choose. I think it's important that we protect workers' rights and immigrant rights. I think the working people of America have been taking quite a beating, and they need support in our highest court as well.
George.
You've used the word democracy twice now. Let's use it a third time. On your website, you talk about democratizing the Federal Reserve System and having public control of the money supply. I presume you mean that Congress would set interest rates. If so, would there ever be a time Congress would vote to raise interest rates?
So let me just backtrack a little bit from them. There are some things on the website that are more aspirational and more long-term and not really the focus of our concrete policies right now. So I'd say in terms of the Fed, you know, our main interest right now is to make the Fed more transparent so that it's not a mystery to the American people what it's doing. I think it's also important that we break up the big banks. 8 years ago, you know, Lehman Brothers collapsed. Just this past week, we saw more corruption at Wells Fargo. I think, you know, we have banks that are still too big to fail, and the American people are very much at risk for what they're doing. So, you know, while that doesn't address the Fed in particular, I think the power of the big private banks right now is a real issue and puts our economy at risk.
Dr. Stein, there aren't too many candidates who have had warrants for their arrest. The Morton County Sheriff's Department says they issued an arrest warrant for you and your vice presidential nominee, charged with criminal trespass and criminal mischief, Class B misdemeanors, after this spray painting of the construction equipment on that pipeline. What about that? I mean, why do it? And it is against the law.
It is indeed. I think we're in a crisis situation, which I do not take lightly. You had here a pipeline company that had just bulldozed the grave sites of the Standing Rock Sioux people the day before, that had loosed the attack dogs on peaceful protesters, and which are putting at risk the water supply, not just for the Standing Rock Sioux, but for 17 million people downstream on the Missouri River, and also at a time when we cannot afford another major pipeline project. This is like the Keystone XL pipeline, which we stopped by public pressure. Right now, in spite of the president's directive that the pipeline companies stop on federal land and that they voluntarily stop in other areas, they are not. They are going full speed ahead in a way that puts us all very seriously at risk. The indigenous people, you know, are putting themselves at grave risk. I did not go there intending to participate in civil disobedience. audience, and when they asked me, I felt like here they are, perhaps among the most vulnerable people on the planet. They're standing up for us. I wanted to support them.
Okay, one more clarification before we turn to foreign policy in the next block. You tweeted out about the DNC leak. DNC leak shows Jay Johnson, Homeland Security Secretary, gave $561,310 to the DNC, then was made Director of Homeland Security. This looks bad. It looks like pay to play.
Well, pay to play is the name of the game these days. We can look at what's going on with the Clinton Foundation. I think, the American people are very uncomfortable with the blurring of the lines between public interest and private interest and the power of money in politics to exert that influence behind closed doors, whether you're looking at the power of the big banks, the power of the health insurance companies that have, had a hand in creating Obamacare, and the pharmaceutical companies. The American people are really being thrown under the bus by what they see as a rigged economy and a rigged political system that's delivered it to us. I think it's really important.
That sounds a little like Donald Trump.
Well, it may sound like him, but unfortunately he's as busy as anybody else paying his way to play. You may know that his foundation as well contributed somewhat $25,000 to an attorney general's campaign in Florida, at which time she did an about face and then decided not to prosecute him for his fraud with the Trump University. So it's on all sides of the aisle. I'm the only candidate in this race that is not taking money from lobbyists, from corporate interests, and I do not have a super PAC. So my campaign has the unique ability to stand up for what the American people actually need.
Thank you, Doctor. When we come back, after a quick break, foreign policy, the Green Party nominee.
Hello, everyone. I'm Eric Bolling, along with Kimberly Guilfoyle, Melissa Francis, Juan Williams. We skipped them. Juan Williams.
Why not?
Francis, and Greg Gutfeld. It's 5 o'clock in New York City, and this is The Five. Well, she's back. Today, Americans got to see Hillary Clinton for the first time in 4 days since Sunday after she collapsed while departing the 9/11 memorial in New York City. She's been home recovering from pneumonia, but returned to the trail this afternoon in North Carolina.
I have to say it's great to be back on the campaign trail. I'm not great at taking it easy, even under ordinary circumstances, but with just 2 months to go until Election Day, sitting at home was pretty much the last place I wanted to be.
And following her speech, Hillary was pressed by reporters about why it took so long to be transparent with America.
Can you be a little bit more specific about what those defenses are that you're referring to? And did voters get a glimpse of some of that in the way that your campaign handled the events surrounding your illness over the weekend?
You know, my campaign has said that they could have been faster, and I agree with that. I certainly expect them to be as focused and quick as possible. But I have to say, from my perspective, I thought I was going to be fine, and I thought that there wasn't really any reason to make a big fuss about it. So I should have taken time off earlier. I didn't. Now I have, and I'm back on the campaign trail.
All right, KG, first appearance since her health scare. How did she do?
I think she did fine. I mean, but again, she sort of threw her staff under the bus. She said it was, I expect my campaign to be focused and to respond right away. Again, saying more that it was an error or, a fail on their part rather than on the candidate herself. So she's very good at deflecting that, than anybody else involved with other scandals. Take the fifth, throw the campaign under the bus. So this is kind of, again, familiar theme for Hillary Clinton, failure to take ownership and personal responsibility.
What do you think, Greg? You heard a little wavering in the voice, a little bit.
I have to say, I thought her body double did great. I'm worrying about her health. I think she might need a body triple. Just somebody in the back there. I like on the jet. I like the motto, stronger together. It's so they can help her up the stairs.
Right.
It takes a village to get her to that podium. And then she said in the speech that she sweats the details. Sure, that's not the flu? Because you do tend to sweat. Look, she's got to get back on the horse. In my opinion, the election has left town without her.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't think this speech was the resilient, I'm back it's kind of, I'm sort of back.
It lacked the gung-ho.
And Melissa, in her absence, leading up to the health scare, and then in her absence, the polls have firmed for Donald Trump. Is this enough to maybe stop that movement towards Trump?
I don't think so. I mean, you know, she stood there and she talked about how she was at home playing with her dogs. If anyone in the audience believes that, I mean, come on, raise your hand. I didn't think so. You know, it's gotten to the point where I only believe leaked emails. I don't believe anything else beside that. So she's standing up there saying she feels better. She only had whatever was pneumonia. Her husband said she had the flu. You know, like somebody else said, you know, whatever, she had the croup. I mean, nobody can keep the story straight. I just don't believe any of it.
All right, Juan, I think Democrats were probably empowered by what they saw today. Democrats, but anyone else?
Empowered?
Well, they got their candidate back. I mean, there was a lot of discussion among Democrats saying, should we switch her out? Is this a time to pull? Wait, tell me you haven't heard any of that.
Put in a relief
Tell me you haven't heard any of that.
There was one guy, I think it was Fowler down in South Carolina, who said, "Oh, we should." The committee, the executive committee of the DNC should be looking. I mean, nobody.
David Schuster said something. Didn't Cokie Roberts say something?
No, you're talking about reporters. We were talking about people who have some power or say in terms of Democratic politics. But when I hear Melissa say she can't believe the woman was at home with her dogs, I say to myself, gosh, you know, it's reached a point where something so simple, you know, it's just now Republicans just feel free to malign and libel Hillary Clinton anytime she says anything.
I'm not a Republican.
But,
are you talking about me? I'm
yes,
not a
I'm talking about.
I'm not a Republican.
But I think that she looked good
from the prairie,
and her argument, which was interesting to me, was because it sounded to me like she was saying, you know what, women do over-prepare. We sweat the details to pick that, and it seemed like she was saying, you know what, I'm not good at the Donald Trump style game.
By the way,
and
I didn't believe him
therefore, I'm
today
about
either.
substance. And she went on to say, you know what, she's been talking to real people. She gets substance and policy, and she can accomplish real change. I think that was the message.
Let's bring in a little bit of that. First, Hillary's back in the campaign trail, and Trump's back questioning her stamina.
You think this is easy? Oh, you think this is so easy? In this beautiful room that's 122 degrees? I don't know, folks. You think Hillary would be able to stand up here for an hour and do this? I don't think so. I don't think so.
And Trump's doctor gave him a clean bill of health in a report released today. In an interview with Dr. Oz, the GOP nominee says he feels half his age.
When you're running for president, I think you have an obligation to be healthy. I've been going from state to state, from city to city, and so in a certain way I get a lot of exercise, more exercise than people would think.
When you look into the mirror, how old is the person you're looking at? What do you see?
I would say I see a person that's 35 years old. No, I mean, I feel the same. Tom Brady's a friend of mine. We play golf together. They're a great quarterback. He's a phenomenal guy, great athlete. And I'm with him, and I feel the same age as him.
Okay. All right. Okay. Juan, first of all, I'm not a Republican. Check my voter registration. I thought this was garbage. I thought the Hillary Clinton thing was garbage. I think it's the only thing I believe right now is Colin Powell's leaked emails. If there was information there about either of their health, I would believe that. But other than that, I mean, they're both going to stand up and present papers that say they are the healthiest people to be walking the planet. There's no way that they would put out anything that said differently, and I don't believe a word either of them have to say about their health.
Colin Powell did raise questions about her health in the emails, in fact.
He did say she looked bad, but then, again, that's him like watching from home.
All right,
it
but
was
he's
kind of
still
joking.
okay.
Yeah.
He's still using the personal doctor that wrote the little note. I mean, that's akin to a Yelp review of a restaurant written by the chef. But it's like having one of your friends write a book review on Amazon for you, which I never did.
Oh, I was going to say,
maybe I
we all do that. We all do that.
In
We all do that. What are you
defense,
talking about?
They did a full blood workup. There were a lot of numbers, and frankly, some of the numbers were pretty darn good for
But that's not surprising if it's his doctor.
Yeah, but also, okay, guys, let's just use some common sense here. I know, but guess what? Hillary is using her concierge doctor. There's a whole show on this, Royal Pains. We all have them. I have mine.
We need an independent review.
That is so true.
We need an
But guess what, Greg?
Dr. Oz.
But guess what? You look at like Trump's medical records and you look at the facts. Look at the guy is tireless on the campaigns. He's the last one every time to leave the debates. He's doing doing all the interviews, shaking hands. I know, because I was at them, and the last person to leave was Trump, talking to all the reporters in the gag.
You're not a doctor, Kimberly, even though you pretend to be sometimes.
I can play one on TV. Have you seen me in Scrubs? So, but you see that, and it matches. The narrative matches the medical record. With Hillary, you're like, oh, she's amazing. But every time you see, she's like looking faint. She's coughing. She's having coughing fits. She needs help getting up. I mean, there's real serious doubts about her health and about her stamina.
She should stop wearing the medical alert when she's on the stage.
Yeah, that doesn't help. That doesn't help the narrative. 54 days left.
Right. So I mean,
is she ready for this final stretch run?
Every indication is she's ready. I mean, the question is, again, comes back to style and substance. I mean, Donald Trump is the style guy. He's out there. He's got that populist energy. But when it comes to substance, so I'm very interested in, like, today, he's talking to the New York Economics Club, and he says, oh, you know what? I'm going to have a $4 trillion. How are you going to pay for that? $4 trillion tax cut from Mr. Trump? He says he doesn't care. Just
That's
economic
not what he
growth.
said. He uses dynamic tax accounting, which actually makes a lot more sense than static yes.
He doesn't say where it comes from before the growth. Wait, let me finish this point. Paul Ryan says, why don't you release your tax returns, Donald Trump?
But we're still in health.
He's going to do that on Shark Tank.
You know what he's going to do what?
Do that on Shark Tank.
Oh, is that right? Because why not? Dr. Oz, that was embarrassing.
It was funny.
Can I ask something? And I'm probably going to get blown up for asking this question. Tell me right now, should I not do this? So a lot of this debate today was Donald Trump. In the report, he says he's 6'2" or 6'3", 237 pounds.
36.
236. Now, put his body mass index, BMI, at 29.5, almost the beast. So everyone's saying, well, he should lose some weight. Here's my question. Did Hillary Clinton release her height and weight?
Yeah.
No. She did? I have never seen that.
I saw her height in there. I don't know about her weight. I was looking at the blood pressure and stuff like that.
And so everyone's saying, well, that's sexist. You shouldn't be asking for that. But if it's...
But it is sexist to say you can't do it to women.
That's my point.
What? Did you just say you know how women are? Wait, did Juan just say you know how women are? Did you just say you know how women are?
Hillary did the same thing. Hillary said you know how women are. They tend to over-prepare.
It's supposed to be... Wait, guys. But here's the point.
And if I ask a woman, how much do you weigh? You know what the reaction is?
But it's
don't ask a woman
supposed to be about the health of the candidates. And being overweight is an issue. They're making an issue for Donald Trump. Should we at least have that for Hillary Clinton as well? I'm asking.
I think it's a fair point. I mean,
he's overweight.
If you want, you've got to be blind about gender. Aren't we in a gender-free society?
I'm with you. I'm just so jarred by you know how women are. You can't say that, Juan.
What do you mean? You mean I'm not supposed to say that?
No, he can't lump us all into one giant group and say that none of us will tell you how much we weigh. By the way, I weigh 123 pounds.
That's fantastic. By the way, Juan is just being honest. He's being a married man who knows. But however, in today's society, Eric's right. We're supposed to be able to ask these questions. Feminists should demand to know Hillary's weight.
Let me just say, she's
I don't
the first
know either
woman
one of them
candidate.
weight.
I want to know everything.
And I think you can ask for everything, but I just don't think it's relevant. I think in terms of Trump, who says he's be the best shape of ever. He is the heaviest president.
Why don't you just, because, by the way, I don't have to say after school today. Just say sorry for anything.
Wait, no. We're defending total equality here.
And that's what the left has been playing on. That's the whole thing, that you're supposed to treat people equally no matter what their gender is. And my point was, if there's a body mass index issue for Trump, should we at least know if there is one for Hillary Clinton too? Just ask.
By the way, the BMI stuff is so inaccurate in general. They say if you're obese with 20. No, it should be about the belt loop.
Yeah, let's leave it at that. Next. We're only 54 days out from Election Day, and this race keeps tightening. The polls, positions have changed, where the candidates stand right now with the voters, and that's ahead.
Tonight,
the polls are coming out. We're leading in so many polls, I can't tell you. I don't know where to begin.
Donald Trump is seizing momentum in the 2016 race with a major rise in the polls. Laura Ingraham is here tonight with reaction.
I don't know, folks. You think Hillary would be able to stand up here for an hour and do this?
Then Donald Trump calls Hillary Clinton's stamina into question.
I don't think so.
As he releases details about his health.
The records that I got, without question, indicate he's healthy enough to be president.
And Trump's running mate, Governor Mike Pence, joins us to weigh in.
I will fight
for every last American job and every American company.
Also, Donald Trump lays out his economic agenda. Hannity starts right here, right now.
And welcome to Hannity. And tonight, the 2016 race continues to turn in favor of Donald Trump, with the candidate now making huge gains in the polls. Just released Fox News national poll. It shows Trump has now closed the gap with Hillary Clinton and is now in a virtual tie, with Clinton's 1-point lead falling now within the margin of error. Also, a brand new CBS News New York Times poll. It has the race dead even for Trump and Clinton at 42% in a four-way contest. Now, the same poll shows Trump winning by 3 among the highly coveted independent voters, 42-39, which is a 9-point swing for Donald Trump since the poll last ran in July. We also have polling out of Iowa tonight. Monmouth University poll that shows that Trump has a commanding 8-point advantage in the Hawkeye state over Hillary Clinton, 45-37. And in the all-important swing state, the Buckeye state, Ohio, Suffolk University has Trump up there as well, beating Clinton 42-39. Amid the very positive poll numbers, Donald Trump has been campaigning nonstop. He was in New Hampshire earlier tonight. Here are some of the highlights.
New polls have just come out, and we're leading.